everybody, it's Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 15. Something They Need. It's the penultimate episode. Wow, there's only one more episode left of the season. Jesus Christ almighty. Before I get into the details, in short, the gang, the posse, are on the way to Oceanside to talk to the village of lesbians to basically say, come and join us or we're going to take your guns. Now, what I kind of found a bit disturbing about these scenes around Oceanside is how they kind of went about it. You can't help but think that if let's say you put this scenario 2 seasons back, they would have gone in with diplomacy. You know, they wouldn't have gone in there with a threat. I mean, fair enough, Tara said, you know, these people don't want to join us, they want to stay in secret, they're pretty angry, blah, blah, blah. But you can't help but feel that, you know, maybe they should have set up the perimeter first and then maybe a group of them went with Tara and attempted to be diplomatic, you know what I mean? Now, they didn't. Tara went in there. Fair enough, she had an unloaded gun. But I just think it could have gone down a bit better. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was that great moment where all the walkers started turning up and the gang defended the people of Oceanside with a couple of helpers from Oceanside to take down these walkers. And that was a really, really good scene. It was really interesting. And all in all, we now know that Rick has taken all the guns and the people of Oceanside have stayed there with no ammunition whatsoever. So where will that play? I mean, I can only assume that they're not going to be in it now until next season. Because it's not like they're just going to show up with a bunch of pitchforks in next week's episode, you know, and they're going to help out the cause. Because it'd be stupid of them to leave the Oceanside at this point. You know, considering they've only got sharp objects to defend themselves with. Everything else that went on in this episode. What I really loved was the conversation between Gregory and Maggie. Maggie's outside of the walls. She's trying to dig up a little tree so she can bring the tree into Hilltop and plant it because, you know, she knows what she's talking about. She's a farmer at the end of the day. And there is a moment where Gregory even contemplates stabbing Maggie while her back's turned. And at one point I was like, he's going to go for this. He's really going to have a go at her. But then we get to see how much of a coward he really is. And not in regards to stabbing Maggie in the back, but in regards to the fact that a walker jumps him and he's begging for help. It's like, Maggie, Maggie! You know, and we really, at that one singular moment, we really truly get to see what kind of a man he is. And the fact that he's petrified, you know. He really is scared. So don't worry, Eugene, you're not the only coward on this TV show, because Gregory is an ultimate coward. He really, really is. And it's interesting mentioning Eugene, actually, because they both kind of, you know, they're both willing to give in and, you know, take a step back and kind of attempt to blend in with the Saviours in order to, you know, protect themselves, really. You know what I mean? Which brings me on to where Sasha is right now. Obviously, I mean, I thought she was dead. You know, it would have been good. I mean, this is how I kind of foresaw this episode. I wanted to see this episode where the opening moments is where Sasha is just dead on the floor. I mean, fair enough, it wouldn't have done the character justice, but it would have given that kind of finality about it. Especially the fact that how emotional that scene was between Rosita and Sasha at the end of the last episode. And I think it just would have given it a lot more gravity, you know? It really would. And it would have given us some closure. And instead, we get to see the old, you know, Saviours prison scenario. And however, we do get to see hear some brilliant moments of script from Negan and Sasha, which I absolutely loved. What I was kind of fearing is that it was just going to be the same old thing over and over again. But it is really, really good pieces of script. And I think one of the lines that Negan says to Sasha is, "We've all got shit to get over," you know? And at that moment, it made me think about where Negan's head is and what happened to Negan in the past and what he lost, you know? And that one singular sentence kind of really did kind of humanise him, you know what I mean? And it really does give you something to look forward to for next season. If we get all out war, of course. Are we really going to get deep into the psychosis of Negan? Are we going to get an episode where we get a Negan flashback on what happened to him? Maybe it's with his wife, with his kid, or whatever. Are we going to get to see that? I really hope we do, because that's really going to change everything. Especially, it's going to change everything for me as a viewer and how I perceive him. Because really, in the second half of this season, apart from the great episode with him and Eugene, we haven't really. This hasn't been enough flesh for me. I mean, we know his relationship with Dwight and so on and so on, but we haven't. I really want some more Negan meat. You know what I mean? That sounds a bit rude. I want some more meat of Negan. Which brings me on to the end of this episode, and which kind of answers the questions from the end of last week's episode, where I was convinced it was Daryl who was stood there looking at Rosita from the shadows, and it's Dwight, you know? And so Dwight is in a prison at Alexandria, and Rosita says, you know, "I've got someone to show you," and they open the prison and Dwight's there, and there's this brilliant fisheye shot, and it's just Wick is with his hand cannon, and he's like, "You want to help us, do you? Get on your knees." You know, and that was cool, that was badass. But it also coincides with the storyline from the comic books, because in the comic books, Dwight becomes a spy. Obviously, he can't become a spy now because he's been missing too long from the Saviours. Negan is clearly going to think that, he thinks Dwight's a bit of a wimp anyway, you know what I mean? He just thinks that Dwight is a slave to him. But the fact that Sherry's gone, of course, Dwight's wife, and Negan's clearly going to be asking questions about that, and the fact that Dwight's been gone a long time, you know, he's going to be automatically suspicious if Dwight does return. However, what a brilliant way to end this episode. Am I happy this is the penultimate episode? No. This is the kind of episode I would have liked to have seen 4 episodes ago. Because I wanted this season to end in a way where, you know, it's like a final march, you know, like not final march, sorry, it's like the first march upon the Saviours. I would have loved that build-up over maybe 1 or 2 episodes. Instead, we've had this episode where we've had the Oceanside, which again should have happened a few episodes ago. And it has been a very slow crawl to the season finale. Now, am I looking forward to the season finale? Of course I'm looking forward to the season finale. It's fucking Walking Dead, for God's sake, and I love this TV show. Whether it's a slow crawl or a sprint, I've always loved The Walking Dead. And what more can I say? It's the season finale, and I'm going to miss it when it's gone. Anyway, I'm going to start crying now, everybody. Walking Dead, come back. 1 more episode to go. Really looking forward to it. So let's see what happens next week. Anyway, guys, as always, thank you for watching. Always a pleasure, never a chore. Click subscribe if you want to see more. Peace out, and we'll see you next time.